Hello, and welcome to the University of Law. In today's video I'm going to be unboxing and reviewing this, which I'm sure you can see is Doctor Who the 13th Doctor Adventures, The Return of the Doctor. So let's get this open. So this is the second in the range. So the second ever 13th Doctor. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Because she's not done any others. Because obviously Fugitive Doctor had done the Once and Future stuff. Whereas 13th Doctor, we kind of launched straight into it, didn't we? Right, let's have a look. Can we see that? Let's use that to make it a bit clearer. Right, here we go. So Doctor Who, The Return of the Doctor. As you can see, we've got the Doctor, but let's make that a bit clearer. We've got the Doctor and Yaz either side on the top there. And this rather interesting creature is this new alien species that we've got. I do like it when Doctor Who kind of almost does a Star Wars in that respect, doing not just going down the humanoid route. Obviously, when you're making television on a budget, obviously you're going to end up doing more humanoid than anything else. But I do like, especially on audio, when you have that chance to kind of do something a little bit different. So let's get this unwrapped anyway. And then what I can do is I can talk you through my thoughts on it. So I did review the very first episode about 2 months ago, because these are coming out every 2 months, and they're coming out in coordination, every other month, with a 9th Doctor release in the middle. So we're getting a constant sort of supply of New Who, a monthly supply of 21st Century Doctor Who between the 9th Doctor and the 13th Doctor. And of course, we've had one release of the 9th Doctor so far, and this is our second 13th, and I'm excited about the next 9th Doctor release. But yeah, so I did enjoy, nearly there, I did enjoy the first installment of the 13th Doctor Adventures. I could certainly see that they've obviously got a plan. There was definitely moments where I kind of thought, yeah, I can see that this is kind of going somewhere in terms of I could definitely see that there were things that I thought were going to come back. So there's definitely, looks like there's going to be an arc to this series with a nice finale as well. It's a 12-part series, I believe. So a nice long stretch to kind of get to know the characters and build the story. So let's get this open. And I do like this because they've got the yellow. Something a little bit different, isn't it? And then we've got the booklet. I do miss the viewing notes. I do say that a lot, but I do miss them. We've got the, or listening notes, I should say. We've got the interest, because obviously this is the 13th Doctor logo, but that was the Big Finish front logo for quite some time, wasn't it? Then inside we've got the cast list. We've got a better version of the artwork there inside, and some production credits as well. So that's the booklet, the pamphlet, and once I've got that back in, we've also got the disc. So it is a one-part story. It's very much in line with what we got on television. We've got our hour-long episode, and it's contained on one disc. So the Return of the Doctor. There we go, and there's some advert for the first 13th Doctor story and 9th Doctor, and of course Fugitive Doctor. They're all advertised on there. So let's go along with my thoughts then on the story. So as a concept, we do open the story on a planet with the Doctor and Yaz saving the day with a new friend. The Doctor does take some risks, nearly endangers their new friend. They then leave without really, as the Doctor so often does, excuse me, without really checking to make sure that the situation is stable. The Doctor always kind of leaves and lets the others pick up the pieces, the people who were left behind. Now, this is a story I'm sure you'll recognise. It's something that Doctor Who has done before, most notably, I think, in Boomtown, the Ninth Doctor story. I feel Boomtown did it better in the sense that Boomtown, see, with this story, it's done well. We establish a setting, and then it's a little bit like the Ark. The Doctor ends up coming right back and has to deal with the consequences. So it has like that feel to it. Whereas with Boomtown, we were taking the Sladinian characters in a situation that we kind of knew because we'd already had a two-parter. So you've been immersed in a very memorable two-part of the first two-part of the 21st century, and then you kind of come back and look at the repercussions of that. So it was a villain. The stake, there was very real stakes. We'd kind of established the character and the setting and the situation, so I think you kind of felt it a bit more, whereas with this you were trying to get that emotional connection, and it did succeed. It did succeed in that. In it certainly felt like there were stakes there, and you kind of certainly felt the plight and the empathy with the characters in there. I guess felt that with Boomtown, having had the benefit of being a sequel to something, that kind of felt. This is obviously only the second release for the 13th Doctor Big Finish, so if they were going to do a sequel, it would have to be to a television story. Obviously at that stage you've then got to deal with perhaps the writer and the who created the characters and monsters, etc., in that televised story. What's really good about this episode is that there's a lot of twists and turns and moments where you think it's going one way and then it takes you on another way. Times towards the end where you think you've resolved it one way, and I have to say there is a bit of a whodunit element to there. And there are times where you question everyone. I even found, actually, and this is I forgot about, this is a theme, both this and the previous story. There have been moments where you're not quite sure if you can trust the 13th Doctor or Yaz. There have been moments in both stories where I wasn't even sure whether they were who we thought we were. So maybe that's a kind of a thread that we might see going through, and maybe that's what we're going towards in this finale. But as I said, there was an element of whodunit. I didn't work it out. But it's one of those twists where it makes sense, and kind of it's kind of been staring you in the face. Maybe you thought it was too obvious, but in a clever sense. So it misled me in a clever sense, and I really appreciated that as part of the story. As I say, there were some really good reflections on friendship and the nature of friendship, which again is another theme from the previous episode. As I said, there's a lot of things that are popping up again and again and again. The idea of friendship, the idea of maybe not really knowing who you're dealing with. The other thing I noticed in this story, which I think might come back, is certainly the planet and the rulers of the planet. I got an impression that we're at least going to see them again. If not, they're going to be vital to what we're building towards in our finale in a couple of years' time. So I really enjoyed it. I would recommend this episode. It's been a really strong run. I know it's only been 2 episodes, but it's been a really strong run. The only thing I did find were obviously the whole story kind of hinges on that friendship between the Doctor and Yaz, which kind of the first episode did as well, but I felt this more so because there's an element of kind of trust there. There were times where, as I mentioned about Boomtown having established things previously, so it's easier to take it forward, I felt that for various reasons, I maybe didn't feel I knew Yaz as deeply as I might have done if this had been a story with Jamie McCrimmon, for example. Obviously, one of the explanations of that is that I've been rewatching the Jamie McCrimmon stuff for about 20 years, whereas Yaz has only been a character for about a quarter of that time. Also, on television, first of all, the era got cut short. Their season that was together was shortened because of the pandemic. And also, Dan joined. And I think that's one of the big reasons I find why I don't perhaps feel I know the characters in this era as well, is because there were, for the first 2 seasons, 4 characters in the TARDIS crew. And I found it difficult at times to kind of... and I mean, Jonathan Turner said this himself in the 1980s, where it's tricky to try and get all of the characters to have something to do and have some level of development. So it's an era where I do need to watch it back, because I feel I need to get to know those characters more. I think we're being really spoiled at the moment, because hopefully as this series goes on, because I hope they keep it just as the Doctor and Yaz for the time being, it does mean we can kind of get to know these 2 characters in particular more. Interestingly though, Toshin Cole, who was also in the first 2 series. I'd listened to him recently. He did a drama on BBC Sounds that was really good, which I listened to. So it'd be nice to have him and Graham back at some point. But for now, I want these 12 episodes to focus. I wouldn't mind a cameo. Maybe they drop in on Graham and the crew and Graham and Ryan at some point. I wouldn't mind that if they did that in a later story. I wouldn't even mind if maybe like in the Ninth Doctor series on television, if maybe partway through the series, maybe the last 3 or 4 episodes, you get a new crew member come in just to kind of mix things up a bit, keep things fresh. I wouldn't mind that, but for now I'm enjoying the fact that we're focusing on 2 characters. Obviously it's a shame with Graham and Ryan that we'll never quite get that on audio because there's not that window, whereas there is a window where there is just a 13th Doctor and Yaz that they can focus on and really help us to for those of you who feel you know the characters, fantastic to carry on building that. And for those of us who maybe don't feel we knew them as well as other characters, this is our chance now to do that. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on the Return of the Doctor. What did you think? Do let me know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Look forward to speaking to you soon.